Hello, I'm Miranda Kahn.
And I'm John Bachman. Coming up right here on noon on Newsmax Now. Thousands dead in Nepal as a desperate recovery and rescue operation continues. So what about that wounded Marine we told you about a couple weeks ago attempting his dream of climbing Mount Everest? Plus, we'll have the latest on the international relief efforts, including what the United States is doing.
Protests turn ugly in Baltimore, Maryland after a black man dies while in police custody.
And controversy swirls as the cost of a VA hospital in Denver explodes. Former Army Ranger Chris Peranto joins us to talk about that and the ongoing failures at the Veterans Affairs Department.
It's noon here on the East Coast, but no matter where you are, it's time for Newsmax Now.
And we welcome you in. Before we get started on our other top stories, we want to give you a look into what just happened a few moments ago. This is our new Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, being sworn in today by Vice President Joe Biden. Lynch said that she can restore trust, or we can restore trust and faith both in our laws and those who enforce them. She also thanked the president and vice president while alluding to her lengthy confirmation process. Here's what she had to say.
First and foremost, I have to thank the president for his faith in me and asking me to lead the department that I love to even greater heights. And Mr. Vice President, thank you for your presence, for your comments here today, but also for your steadfast support and your wise counsel through this process. And it's been quite a process.
There you have it, referring to those 5 months she waited while the Senate debated over that human trafficking bill and some of the language therein. But she also inherits a lot of issues, these ongoing civil rights investigations. Right. And again, she alluded to that in her speech today.
All right.
All right, Miranda, let's go ahead and get started with our other top stories, and we'll begin this hour with what's taking place in Nepal at this hour. Thousands are dead. At least 3 Americans are also among those dead as the desperate rescue and recovery mission takes place today. Another 17 people, we're finding out, were killed when that avalanche actually struck Mount Everest shortly after the initial earthquake.
Everything was gone. All our tents were gone, and then people were pushed. Like the guy who stood in front of me was now 30 feet over there, and we're missing one person that we don't know if she's alive or dead.
Well, officials say this earthquake is the worst disaster in Nepal since 1934, when 8,500 people were killed. Also, we told you about that former Marine where we told you about a couple weeks ago. He's trying to climb Everest after losing both of his legs to an IED. Charlie Linville had been in Tibet prepping for that summit. He is fine, but his dream to climb to the top of Mount Everest is now in jeopardy.
Protest over the death of a black man injured while in police custody turned violent. Thousands took to the streets demanding answers in the death of 25-year-old Freddie Gray. Gray suffered a spinal injury while in police custody. Some demonstrators attacked parked cars, as you can see, and broke windows. Baltimore police arrested 34 people. 6 police officers were injured during those protests. While Baltimore struggles with its police force, some are calling these Swedish police officers heroes. This video was released showing the 4 cops from Sweden. They're on vacation in New York City. Hopefully we'll get to that video in just a moment. They stepped in when 2 men got into a fight on the subway last week. They broke things up and calmed everyone down while waiting for the NYPD to arrive. The police commissioner thanked the officers for their assistance.
All right, Miranda, thanks a lot. In Colorado, the trial for the man accused of opening fire at a movie theater starts today. James Holmes is accused of killing a dozen people and wounding more than 70 more when he shot up that theater in Aurora, Colorado some 3 years ago. Prosecutors say he plotted the attack for months while stockpiling weapons and booby-trapping his own apartment. But Holmes' defense argues that he is not guilty by reason of insanity. Mental health experts are expected to take the stand during the course of the trial. And the sentencing phase for the Boston Marathon bomber starts today. Jurors are hearing from witnesses from the defense. They'll decide whether or not Johar Tsarnaev will face the death penalty or life in prison. The 21-year-old has already been convicted on 30 federal charges. 17 of those carry the death penalty. Minnesota's governor sends in the National Guard now to help as that state suffers from a bird flu outbreak. Farmers have destroyed millions of chickens and turkeys. 15 of the Guard's water trucks are being put to work as part of the system to euthanize birds that are either sick or have been exposed to the flu. The highly contagious flu has been confirmed now in a dozen states. And don't drop the new Apple Watch. Take a look at this. A guy who posts videos of himself torturing technology has gotten a hold of a sport model of the Apple Watch and puts it to the test. The first drop, no damage at all, but it's all over when he drops the watch on the face side. It gets completely smashed. The more expensive Apple Watches supposedly have a sharper or stronger face, but I don't know. Doesn't look like much of a sporty watch to me. You think the Sport Watch would be the more durable of the models, but good luck to those folks out there with those Apple Watches.
That's painful, especially like when you drop your phone, and I mean, they're so expensive.
So expensive. Anyway, we'll bring in J.D. Hayworth. We're going to talk a little bit more about what took place over the weekend in White House Correspondents' Dinner. J.D., have you ever been in attendance?
No, I was invited once, but the invitation was rescinded. It seems that a certain publication, I'll remain nameless, confused J.D. Hayworth and J.C. Watts. And so they said, look, we want you to come speak at the dinner. Well, it just the initials.
Most folks would not confuse the two if anybody knows J.C. Watts. But we did want to play a soundbite from President Obama and get your reaction. Let's take a listen.
After the midterm elections, my advisors asked me, Mr. President, do you have a bucket list? And I said, well, I have something that rhymes with bucket list. Take executive action on immigration? Bucket.
All right, fair enough. But, J.D., does this event serve any purpose other than giving the president a platform to say what he really thinks deep down inside?
Well, it does give White House reporters a chance, given the philosophical dispensation toward the president and his unremittingly extremist leftist views. It gives those in the press corps the chance to drop any pretense of objectivity, not that they too often show it. Oh, sure, occasionally in the press briefings, they will give Josh Earnest a tough time, but by and large, one of the worst kept secrets in Washington is the fact that the Washington press corps actively roots for Mr. Obama and his agenda. And what you saw on Saturday night was just the fusion of that agenda and imported personalities from Hollywood sitting there with what is known as Hollywood for the cosmetically challenged. According to John McCain, that's Washington, D.C. Yeah, I got to give John credit for that. We may not agree on everything, but on that line, McCain was absolutely right.
Did anything make you laugh, though?
Oh, sure. I think it's funny. I do think this president has it different. Most presidents engage in self-deprecating humor. This guy, he figures he's Teflon. He's going to do whatever he wants, and that joke he offered, which culturally may be apropos, though there's something probably you don't want to use on a family show, he just absolutely believes that there was something he said, not in jest, but very seriously. He said it the day after the midterm elections, some inane line about, I listened to the millions who did not vote. Kind of curious. In other words, he is going to do what he wants to do, and he sees the Republican leadership is not going to move to stop him. The Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader are basically going, hey, hands off, scared. We might be called racist, and so that's what you see.
We're running out of time, so real quickly we want to go to this next topic. One of the lawyers who argued in favor of overturning California's same-sex marriage ban sat down with NBC's Chuck Todd. Take a quick listen. We want to get your reaction.
This has to do with equal rights. What we're saying is that you can't deprive a loving couple of marriage simply based on their sexual orientation. Just like you can't deprive a loving biracial couple of the right to get married. The Supreme Court held that many, many years ago.
So the legal battle is set. Supreme Court tomorrow. Your thoughts?
It spoke volumes. NBC uses the headline marriage equality. Once you accept that definition, remember 9/10 of this is how you define the issue. And again, it just points out the unremitting lean to the left of the Washington press corps. Was smart on the part of those who want to advocate same-sex marriage to get David Boies, who argued the case for Gore in 2000, and Ted Olson, who argued the case for George W. Bush in 2000, to join together on this issue. But it's more atmospherics than it is constitutional law, and we'll see the justices basically listen to the courtroom of public opinion.
All right.
All right. Thanks, J.D.